packet.
Thank you for turning that in.
We could be.
And you can see we're getting vocals here.
Right on the front of the big letter here. She flies in F-17.
Right there.
Oh, take one of these.
Paper clips, yeah.
Oh, they're labeled for who they go to?
Nope,
No.
they're all the
Oh.
same.
You couldn't wait. You kidding me?
Yeah. All right, you hear us. You can hear everyone.
Just note that they can't hear. Just call it that they can't hear.
Ask them if they can do it now. She's listening. She can
Hello,
hear it.
hello?
And we had it off before. The mic was off, but the phone was on.
It's on. Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to call the meeting to order. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for originally scheduled for April 1st. Now it's a special meeting on Tuesday, March 31st in honor of Passover. We're on Zoom and we're live, obviously. So just do a quick roll call.
Karen Muller, regular member.
Bob Harrison, regular member.
Steve Thornquist, chairman.
Nancy Held Sheehy, regular member and vice chair.
Adam Carrington, regular member and secretary.
There we go. So we have quorum and we are ready to go. The minutes were sent out early, or actually posted online. Is there any correction to the minutes?
I have one.
All right.
On page 7 at the bottom of the page. The last statement about a 22-19A filing should be a 22A-19 filing.
Yes, I had picked that up too.
Number one. And number 2 should be applied to both applications.
Yes. So it's a 22A-19.
Yes. Not 22-19A.
Yes. And that applies to both 2025-009 and 2025-010.
That's right.
All right. So with that correction, are there any other corrections?
Hey, folks, together.
Is there a motion to accept the minutes as corrected?
I move that the minutes be accepted as amended.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
I'm not abstaining.
And you're abstaining. You got that? Nancy is abstaining. All right. There's no publications to report. We did receive correspondence. We received notice of a challenge to our decision on application 2025-12 in Superior Court, and that is being dealt with by the town attorney. Review and approval of bills. We have an invoice from Hiram Peck for $2,000 for March 2026. That was in the packet as well. And we will take that, we will accept that. We have to vote to approve it, don't we? Yes.
I move that we pay the March 2026 invoice for $2,000 to Hiram Peck.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those, any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it passes.
Thank you.
So that has been approved.
We also need to,
Oh, yes, we also need to approve that. Thank you. And for our recording services, there's a fee of $150, and we need to accept that and approve it as well. So is there a motion?
I make a motion to pay the recording secretary.
All right. Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Well, want some water in? Okay. All right.
Allergies are not doing well.
Trees are bad for us sometimes. All right. So now the next item on our agenda is public hearings. And so we will start our public hearing. I do want to say, of course, anyone may comment on each of the items in the public hearing. We do have a microphone here in the front of the room. It's a little lavalier tight clip to that thing, but if you stand next to it, it'll pick you up just fine. When you come up to speak, give us your name and your address, and spell your name, please, for the recording secretary. Okay. The first application is from Jennifer Kravinskas for 12 Emerald Lane. It's an R65 zone. Its application is a permit for an accessory apartment. This was opened or presented or accepted at the last meeting, put on for a public hearing with the intention of getting a decision from Inland Wetlands on a wetlands question. Wetlands met to accept it, but cannot by their rules, accept and vote on an application at the same meeting. And so they continued it until their April 16th meeting. And so my suggestion is that if people here want to speak on this application, we can do that now because you're here already. But I think we should continue the hearing until our next meeting to hear from wetlands, which is what we were waiting for this meeting. So does anyone want to address?
Do you have a quorum if I need to recuse myself.
Yes, we have 4.
Okay.
So
I
thank you
need to
for that.
recuse myself.
If you recuse, you must leave. We'll call you back when it's done. Or you can just listen online and find out when it's done.
Just have another
Please call me back.
question. Does the
Oh,
public
microphone,
hearing
thank you.
technically begin at 7:15, or can we begin early?
It was noticed for 7.
7 o'clock? Oh, that's better. Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. Yeah, besides we don't, again, we don't want any naked gun moments with the microphone. So, anyone want to discuss 12 Emerald Lane just on its merits alone, or are we all just going to wait for the Wetlands Commission? All right, we're going to continue that. Anyone have any objections to continuing it?
No objection.
Just a question, comment. Is the applicant for that application here this evening? Okay. Do you agree with the continuance? Just want to get on the record, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay, you're okay? Good, thank you.
State your name for the
My name's Scott. Yeah, my name's on the application.
The chairman call for a motion to continue.
All right. I was going to do it without objection, but all right, we have a motion.
I'll make the motion that we continued the public hearing for 12 Emerald Lane until the May meeting.
All right. Is there a second? All right. Any discussion of that? All right. Then all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Can you get, you can bring Karen back.
She's on her way.
Okay. So now we move, and sorry about the delay, but we have to, that was what we were waiting for, and without it, it's kind of pointless. Yeah. All right, moving on to application number 26-1-Z-21, or -Z, 21 Sperry Road. Stephanie Slantek, R130 zone. The application is for a special permit for a professional home office / community center under 5.4H of the Bethany zoning regulations. You brought company.
I know. Yeah. So
Yeah, the microphone's right there. And if you, it's easiest if you just stand there and talk. We need your name, your address, and then whatever you want to say.
Yeah. Stephanie Swantek, 21 Sperry Road. A lot of this I already gave last time. I was going to re-give in case someone did not receive. As well as these are all the letters of support connected to those two.
Oh, read that into the record.
Yeah, I'll do that in a minute. Yeah.
I'm the secretary.
Sure.
Sure. And then, so again, submitted was what was submitted last time, as well as letters of support and names. My name is Stephanie. My profession, social worker, therapist. I'm a licensed LCSW, parent of 3. And we moved to 21 Sperry with the intention or the goal of opening up either the daycare, it was Carolyn's creative daycare for 37 years on the property, or kind of pivoting and utilizing as a recreational space, a space to support parents, community. And that's really what our goal is. For parking, we're aware that there was 10 to 12 cars being able to park there previously. We have the space to do so in front of both barns, as well as there's a tennis court, so 2 cars could park in front of the tennis court. In regards to like noise or light pollution, we're not changing anything. We're not making any additions to the space if this goes through. Running kind of normal business hours. We're aware that Carolyn, she had 12 full-time students in the space, as well as 2 full-time staff and herself. So we're really trying to follow that same model, not making changes to, yeah, the aesthetics, the culture, just contributing to community and families and participation within that.
All right. Thank you. And I do have to read a legal notice that we are having a hearing on this. It's just something I have to read into the record, so I'm going to do that right now. The Planning and Zoning Commission of the Town of Bethany will hold a public hearing on March 31st, 2026 at 7 p.m. in the Commission Meeting Room, Bethany Town Hall, 40 Peck Road, Bethany, Connecticut, to hear the application by Stephanie Swantek regarding property at 21 Sperry Road. Applicant seeks a permit for, actually this is all what I've said before, for professional home office community center under 5.4H of the Bethany zoning regulations. Foregoing application file is available for review during business hours in the land use department at the Bethany Town Hall. Public is invited to attend and be heard. This will be a hybrid meeting. This was read or published ahead of time on March 17th, 2026 and 3/24/2026 in the New Haven Register. There we go. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this application? Any other comments?
My name is John Healy, and I live at 38 Sperry Road. And I was just wondering, it said community center. What does that involve?
I'm going to let her answer that because she has what she.
People can only ask us questions, but
Oh,
they can respond as they feel.
Yeah, so it's gonna be an open play for kids, but basically parents will always be present. So we have a space that it's just a quiet space for parents to decompress while your child is playing, like pop-up classes, things for parents, educational things for parents, support things for parents. Yeah, small base, kids play, education support.
yeah, community center. There's no first like bringing in people out of town.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be pretty as local as possible. We're keeping it small. We're keeping it, again, it's on our property. So we're keeping it intimate. We're keeping it local, controlled. It's in our home. So we also want to be aware of those things. But also being a therapist, being a social worker, working in schools, I'm aware that, yeah,
And you
and
answered
we're gonna respect the space.
the parking problem.
Yeah, we're gonna control parking. We're gonna maintain what Carolyn is doing. So yeah, we don't intend to be maybe we'll have an event here and there, but we will be speaking to neighbors if that was ever the case. But in general, the daily is gonna be a couple of the parking spaces in front of the existing.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have questions up here?
I have a few questions. Again, Bob Harrison. How many, when you have events, how many people at one time will be within the structure in the facility?
Yeah.
Will it be mainly outdoor events or indoor events during like the winter? What are your plans?
So I guess plans is we're focusing on families. So, I don't plan on having large, it's a small space, so I can send with events that control and that support the amount of families. So, 10, 15, 20 families. That's actually a fire marshal question. I can just ask the fire marshal in regards to how many people that space with parents in it could even occupy. I'm not sure, but we don't plan on doing big things. I just know what was being used before was the 12 full-time students at a time.
But I was just going to ask that next question. What are the requirements that you know of for fire safety, getting people out in case something happens?
Yeah.
Have you addressed that at all?
I reached out to the fire marshal, and his response was to wait for you all to be in touch with him. But there are plenty of, how many? 1, 2, 3. There's 4 entrances and exits in the whole space.
Now, does your state license, I assume you have a state license for daycare?
No, this isn't a daycare.
Okay. So is there
There's no child.
Is there any licensure requirements that you know of in your profession for this type of service? One.
I spoke to the health department and they said no. I am a licensed like clinical social worker, but that's no. There's no license needed to have a community space.
Other than having your license to practice.
Right, but that's just my personal license. But
Right.
yes, there's no need, no licensure for this space needed after speaking to the health department.
And you have adequate facilities for septic and water, and will there be food being prepared there as well?
No food being offered or prepared. There are 2 toilets in the space, 1.5 back. Septic was, I actually have the soil testing and the septic here as well. That was done in December 2024.
Can you leave that with us?
Mhm.
How old is the barn? The space?
No, I'm not sure. But there's the original barn and then there's an extension. I'm not sure. At the daycare, well, again, it was operating for 37 years, and we do have like the original for her application for permits to do the addition. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know if
I
you
get that.
if you answered this, but how many days, like say on average per week, do you think you'd be operational? Or is it going to be random, or you say open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5? What?
Yeah, I mean, no, we're gonna be open on weekends as well, because again, for like parents, you want space for your kids to play on weekends. So it will be open on weekends too. That is our intention.
So 7 days a week.
Yeah, 6 or 7. Yeah, if we have availability, yes. But probably like a short day Sunday. But yeah, we do want to, again, that's supporting families, is giving them space to play and to convene.
How many people do you anticipate at perhaps your busiest time to
Yeah.
have there? Just the parking
Yeah.
situation. Just want to make sure that's clear.
Yeah, I'm thinking like 8 to 10 families at both time. And we already have been looking at apps in regards to like how to connect. If like, let's say I have like quote unquote 20 families who are members, how people can actually check in about, oh, is there space for me to actually go? So we're also going to be like utilizing some things like that, so families can actually see, is there space for me in this space at the moment.
Hiram, I have some questions if you don't mind. So one, this does not sound like it's continuing use, because she's not continuing a daycare. So it doesn't sound like it's a continued use. And then I have 5.4 open, right? Special exemption use residential zone. Clubs, community houses operated nonprofit. You said you weren't charging anything, right? Nonprofit basis.
Well, I think, could you clarify
We are charging. Yeah, we are charging. It's not a nonprofit.
Okay. So a nonprofit. I'm trying to fit. Does this fall at all within 5.4?
listen,
Well,
if I may, special exception uses in residential zones, 5.4H, other uses and structures similar to the permitted uses and structures which the commission may find acceptable and which meets the special permit standards, including home occupations if approved by special permit.
So it's an application for special permit.
Right, correct.
Okay. It's not. So it would be a business.
Maybe
Okay.
Maybe I can help a little bit. I think that the application says professional home office and / community center. So I guess what I'm thinking the commission is looking for is clear definition of what you're actually proposing as possible. So it's not a daycare, is that right? Okay, and that's the use that was previously there.
Right.
Okay, so it's not a continuation exactly, but that's why I think you need to be as clear as possible with the commission of exactly what you're proposing. So it's kind of a,
Yeah, I mean, so again, so it's family, so memberships, right? So a family is a member. You sign up your family, they can come, they can participate in an activity, in a class, in a weekly class. Parents can come and there'll be someone kind of watching your kids over here while a parent is receiving information on this or that. Or vetted referrals in regards to pediatricians or therapists. It's an overall support that will be provided to the parent and the family. So it's educational, it's recreational, it's space for kids to play and families to go.
And you've noted that it's not a drop off. The
It's
parents are
not.
expected to be there.
Correct.
Okay.
You're not actually providing care for the children in that sense.
Correct. It's the whole point is for families to be together. That's the whole point. Not just dropping off, but participating, learning, connecting with other families so that you're not just alone or isolated.
you mentioned that it's membership.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it also might help the commission too is there a limitation on the number of members?
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, I think absolutely. So we would have a certain amount, and beyond that will be a wait list. That's how we can control the number of people. The members of it.
What is that number?
Yes, what's a certain amount?
Yeah, so
We're gonna
we're
need-
thinking around
yeah.
like 20 families at a time. Yeah.
You were saying 10 to 15 before, roughly 10 cars parking.
Can be in the space at one time. Yeah.
So you're
So
20,
even if 20 families are members, does not mean 20 people can all be there at the same moment. Like those people can participate in the class, right? Up to 8 or 10 students at a time. Like these are 2 to 5. We're focusing on 2 to 5-year-olds. So we're not having large numbers of 2 to 5-year-olds. They're small, contained numbers.
We have to anticipate for what the maximum would be, though, similar to our approach with
Business.
things and businesses.
I have if you don't mind, I have a question too. Do we need a site plan? I know we're in residential, but it's a business, but yet I'm trying to figure out really where to put this. Does it require a site plan
I
with
think
parking?
if the commission would find it helpful, you certainly can ask for one. And
Because like I would say like when we do cottage industries, typically people don't park. They'll it's like 2 minutes.
you get the
Yeah, they could drive up.
drive up, get your goods, and you go. Yeah.
Exactly. So parking would not come into play for something like that. And that's an example of a business allowed in a residential zone. But this carries a parking requirement that's why I'm asking, would we need a site plan for something like this that we would normally ask for or require?
There may be something in the records already for the property.
And there are some here as well. I did sit down. I did share. I'm not sure.
I looked up the property on the GIS.
Okay.
Would the
Yeah.
applicant be able to take advantage of the Lake Chamberlain park that's nearby for parking?
That's RWA property.
Actually,
I'm not sure
right
that
on the
how
Woodbury line.
yeah.
That Lake Chamberlain Park is right in Woodbridge?
The parking is
portion
in
of
Woodbridge, I
parking is in
think.
Woodbridge, yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, requires that.
It also requires RWA membership because the lock is on the parking area.
Yeah, but that's pretty much a dead end road. That
Well, you could
portion,
park,
as
I
soon
suppose, on the shoulder of the road, yes, but I
as
mean,
you turn.
that's
I would
not,
suggest that if that's something that the commission would find helpful, make a decision. There may be things on file, there may be historically, there may be a survey of the property when you purchase the property or something like that. That could be sort of sketched on to show where the parking would be located, how many cars could fit there, things like that. There may be parking available nearby, but I would caution you want to be careful about requiring something that's going to have to park off site.
right,
So you just want to be careful with that.
right. So I'm not a big fan of using that water company property as parking because that's their property and that's for their use.
Bound to.
They can be cranky.
Well, it's not what it's provided for.
So I'm not, again, we have no intention of having like, again, large scale events, but we do have 2 barns on our property. Where'd it go?
Would this be better?
No, it's here. I don't know. But I don't know what I show. So this is our house.
Mm-hmm.
This is the daycare building. And there's parking here, and this is another barn. So there's parking here if you ever need it. And in between here is a tennis court. So again, all of this, there is parking if we ever needed that. What Carolyn was utilizing was 8 cars here and then 2 cars if needed in front of the tennis court.
For a total of 10 cars.
With level 5, yeah.
And that's on the grass.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
So I guess the question I had was, if you're not cooking or anything like that for them, you do have 2 bathrooms or 2 toilets available. You got a house full of people though, for at least half a day. And do we have, what you showed me here is an excavation of an old oil tank with proof that the oil tank the soil around it was not contaminated. The question I asked was about the septic.
So what I was told by Bill Merrick, and that was in our time when we bought the property, is that was soil testing for the property, in which health department, if they were to ask about septic, and actually when I called health department, they said, if we are interested in anything, we would want soil testing, which was already complete.
Yeah, but I don't have the results of the soil testing. I just have the
Okay,
bill
so-
for them.
Okay, so I could get that, okay.
Yes.
All right.
So I guess okay. And then you said the fire marshal hasn't come by to take a look. Typically, if in a classroom setting for that sort of use of a property, we do expect some of that assessment to be done
Yeah.
to verify that the structure is in fact safe to have that many people in it for that period of time.
Mhm.
And so that would be something we would want as well. Any other questions? Concerns, thoughts?
I'm still wondering if we need some type of site plan, even if it's sketched out, just to show where the parking would be. Like I said, we can allow it for 5-4H. And it's a business in a sense because it's being charged, but if I put if they were just another business coming in, right? There would be requirements for site plan to understand where the parking is. So I almost feel that we need to understand the parking,
So I think what the commission,
especially if a neighbor has raised a
Right.
concern.
right, I think what the commission's saying is that some sort of a site plan sketch showing how the site would be laid out. The aerial photo's interesting, but you need some sort of a sketch, probably on a survey if there's one been done in the past. Seems to me also, Chairman was just asking about QVHD making a comment on how many people the site would satisfy in terms of their requirements, right?
Fire marshal.
Right. So I guess what I'm asking for is essentially a more formal standard application, a site plan, a written statement of use with the occupancy and how many people will be there, how often that many people will be there, how often you may violate that for special events. And I would urge you for those special events to make sure you are a good neighbor. And then maybe also tell the fire marshal we would like him to weigh in on the occupancy of that building for that many people in that density for that period of time. Make sure the exits are not blocked, make sure it's safe.
Right.
Yeah, the site plan for the parking is another one. And then again, if QVHD's satisfied with the testing you have, you can pitch it to them because I'm not a soil scientist, but they have them.
Okay.
And let them give you a letter saying, yeah, her septic will handle this.
So so just so I know, will you all tell it, or do you want me just again? Because I already called, I just want to make sure
Technically,
communication.
yeah, I'm going to let our CEO guy here tell you about all that, but because he will help you through that process, correct? You can request the things of her, but it's technically on your burden to produce the information for us and us to review
Right.
it.
Yeah.
He can help direct you to where to go and talk to him about it.
Well, yeah, 'cause like I said, I did call them both, and they both said, we'll wait to hear from planning if you need us.
This is what we would like, I think, to be more comfortable with this.
Okay.
A more formal presentation in writing, because what's said here is great. It's recorded, it's a public hearing. But what we make our decision on really is best if it's documented in writing. We can respond to what's said here because it is, again, a public hearing and it's recorded and we have a transcript. But it's nicer if I have a document to hand out and says, here's what we looked at and here's what we were promised. Okay, just to formalize it a little better. All right. Any other questions you were starting to ask?
You asked it.
Oh, okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Carolyn did buy that she wanted it to be nursery school. So are you gonna have any nursery school teachers there at all, helping the children? You said you have people up there doing things for parents and all that. How about the children?
Yeah.
Are they gonna have any learning?
Yeah, yeah, so we're gonna look into the 5-year-olds. So yes, movement classes, dance classes, but it's all those things. So recreational, but for kids.
But it's just gonna be different teachers, not a set nursery school.
It'll be
teacher
like
that
one
knows-
teacher set, like it'll be like, one teacher maybe doing like one class a day, and then another teacher coming in and doing another class a day.
So by classes, are you talking academic type classes like early learning, or are we just talking movement, fun, art?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what kind
I'm
of.
sorry, I jumped in on your questions.
Attention is really, again, like a community, right? Assessing the needs of who signs up. So it's gonna grow with the needs of the community based on their interests. But right now, it's gonna be movement and play and exploration, very like Montessori style.
So
Play in
again,
the mud, figure out answers, like, yeah.
if you could provide that in a statement of use for us, and again, what you do in the future, if you need to change it substantially, you might need to come back to us for that. But within the rubric of what you give us, you might want to build in some of your leeway for that too. Did you have other questions? I
Yes,
stepped on
but
you.
another thing when Carolyn had the nursery school, she had people dropping off the kids, the mothers would leave, so the cars weren't there. They'd come back and pick up the kids at all different times, so there was never a lot of cars.
Yeah,
So it was, seemed very simple.
sure.
Never bothered us for years. We've been there 67 years. So
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
just wondering.
No,
My name is Kathy Healy,
And your address.
38 Sperry Road.
Thank you. Other comments, questions?
I'd like to make a comment.
Come up to the microphone, please.
Could I come up?
Yes, would you please? If it's not, again, if there's a microphone on the stand. Name and address.
My name is Meg Turner. My address is 25 Shelf Road. I retired last month, but before then, I was the manager of Whitlock's Book Barn for 10 years. And it is right across the street, directly across the street. And I just wanted to make the comment that we have cars, sometimes a lot of cars, coming and going all the time. And the neighborhood is, after 78 years, the business is closing now, but it was there for 78 years. And we never had one complaint about traffic for the 10 years I was there. So it's right, you can just hop on Morris Road and you're out to 69. It's on the bottom there. So I don't think that it's going to be more cars for what they're trying to do than the bookstore.
Well, it's also the distribution. The bookstore had a specific designated parking area in and around, in
Yeah.
front of and behind it on the side.
Yes, and before last month, I could have offered parking, but I don't know what he's going to do with the space. So I don't know if it's available,
No.
but
Sorry to hear it's closing.
yeah, me too. Believe me, there was no other place like it.
No, you're right.
So I'm sad about it.
Any further comments or questions? So I think I'll
Mr.
entertain.
Chairman, before you adjourn or recess this public hearing, I think I heard you want a statement of use when we continue this public
I
hearing.
can run this for you if you want, but you can tell me what you
A
have.
site plan showing parking,
Mhm.
at least a parking plan, a report or letter from the fire marshal, and some kind of report or some kind of document from QVHD.
On the adequacy of the septic
Mhm.
and the facilities there.
Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, and that's it. And be as specific as you can in that statement of use, but you don't have to box yourself in. All right.
Yeah,
If
and
you're
if-
not sure, it's okay to say you're not sure, but just be as specific.
And
as you
mostly
can.
capacity, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
for both
Maximum capacity
entities.
would be useful.
both entities, both the fire marshal and the health department.
Mhm.
And if you could know operational hours too, that would be helpful. I know you spoke to that, but having that in the statement of use on file would be helpful.
So I think we're at a point where I would entertain a motion to continue this until the next meeting, or recess it, which is continuing. Unless there's other comments.
I'll make a motion. I move that we move application 26-1-C, 101 Ferry Road to the May meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion further? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? All right, so we
Mr.
will
Chairman-
continue this hearing.
Chairman, just want to make sure the applicant is okay with the continuation of the
Oh,
time
right.
frame for that meeting. And if it turns out that you can't get that information by May 6th, which I believe is the next meeting, then you can ask the commission through the zoning enforcement officer for an extension of that time frame. But you need to put that in writing, okay?
Mhm. Yes, you can ask to extend it. Yeah.
Sometimes these agencies are a little bit slower than we would like to get information.
Yeah, and also their meeting schedules, as we saw with the other thing with the wetlands, is not necessarily in complete sync with ours. So,
Great, thank you.
thank you. All right, moving on. Our next application is application 26-1-S for 695 Amity Road. I will read the notice this time before we start. Planning and Zoning Commission of the Town of Bethany will hold a public hearing on March 31st, 2026 at 7 p.m. or thereafter in the Commission Meeting Room at Bethany Town Hall, 40 Peck Road, Bethany, Connecticut, to hear the application by 695 Amity Road LLC regarding property at 695 Amity Road. The applicant seeks a subdivision with a waiver of open space under 9.1B and 11.4 of the Bethany subdivision regulations. The foregoing application is available for review during regular business hours. This was noticed on March 17th, 2026, and March 24th, 2025 in the New Haven Register.
Evening, Attorney Timothy Fury, 43 Bellevue Avenue, Bristol, Connecticut. I'm representing the applicant. Present here is our design engineer, Mr. Garcia, and Joseph Naples, who's the manager of the LLC. Joe is also the manager of the soccer facility that is next door, which is owned by a different LLC with that address. The goal here is we wish to subdivide the property, which many of you know is the mattress factory, which Joe bought last year, and eventually to present a site plan to the commission for the use of the additional lot. Property is in one of the limited industrial zones. We did go before the Economic Development Commission, who endorsed the subdivision, endorsed the concept, and I think representatives are here tonight. They also endorsed the ideal of our waiver, requesting that we not be required to produce any open space, because A, it would probably eliminate our ability to subdivide the property. B, it takes away valuable business land. The current goal is to come back to you once we know we have a lot, and Mr. Garcia is designing a full site plan with all the drainage and everything. It's not particularly difficult to do. We've done it next door, and we hope to do it here. If you came by on your way in today, you saw that we had cars all over the place. We had over 1,000 children try out for our 1,000. 500 children trying out for our various teams the past 2 nights. So this, in part, will help support the program that's been successful. And we also, this spring, are going to, we had drilling today for the lights, which many of you commissioners approved last year, for the geotechnical aspect of putting in the light poles next door and the expansion of our parking facility that was also approved last year as well. So we do need it, and we want to create these supportive things. We've been successful, and he's raised the bar next door, and he wants to raise the bar here for the benefit of the program and the community. So, with much ado, Mr. Garcia did all the hard work, so I'll have him walk through the details of the lot and the potential. Again, these you are not approving, and so the public knows you are not approving a site plan tonight. You're just approving the creation of a lot and the waiver of open space. We have the additional land to develop the lot in a business use. Any use, site plan or other building, would have to come before you with a final design. We did receive correspondence from DOT. They don't grant access to their road or development of access to the road until we have an approved site plan from the commission. It's the chicken and the egg. They want to see what you approve first, and then they come and say, okay, this is how you affect our access point, and this is how you affect the drainage on the additional road. That's a next step. And unfortunately, you don't have control over that, but neither do we till we get to that point. So with that, Mr. Garcia.
Okay. For the record, my name is John Paul Garcia. I'm a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor, licensed to practice in the state of Connecticut, principal office at 190 Fairwood Road in the town of Bethany, Garcia. I'm here representing 695 LLC. The intent is, as Attorney Fury said, is for a subdivision. We are not proposing site plan approval tonight. We are proposing to split the lots, and we will come back at some future date with a specific site plan approval that will have lighting, landscaping, anything like that. So all we're doing for this tonight is the subdivision. We're creating a 2-acre parcel in front, which is the old mattress factory, and then a 3-acre parcel in back. The exit for the 3-acre parcel is on Gandy Road. The reason we're here for a public hearing is because this is technically a rear lot. So that has to only be approved by a public hearing and by the vote of the commission. You have, as part of your package, you should have letters from the Economic Development Commission in favor of this. You should have a letter from QVHD stating that this is acceptable. You should have a letter from wetlands saying there is no wetlands impact. The closest wetlands is down here someplace, which is actually, this line right here is the 150-foot upland review area from the wetlands that are on the adjacent property. So you should have referrals from the other town boards. One of the things that Attorney Fury glossed over was in asking for the waiver of open space. If you read your regulations are explicit, and they allow you to have different mechanisms. In this particular case, recreational facilities are considered part of the open space. So the proposal before you would create, in essence, 60% of the property would be open space. That's one of the reasons why we're asking for the waiver, because we're already doing that as part of an allowed use in your regulations. So that's basically it. It's a very straightforward subdivision. There's nothing fancy about it. And as I said, the mattress factory is pretty much standalone. So if we were to come back in for a business use, there was probably very little that has to be done to the exterior of the building. We have sufficient parking. We have a septic system. We have a septic reserve area in front. So we've met all the requirements to Quinnipiac Valley Health. As far as a proposal for the backfield, we would have to come back in with that with all the details. Parking, drainage, detention. And as Attorney Fury said, DOT will not look at any application until it's been approved by the town. So that's basically it. It's a fairly straightforward, fairly simple, cut and dried subdivision request. Any questions? Yes.
entrance and exit to the rear site is still gonna remain with the front lot?
No, it has to go with the rear lot. It's right here.
Okay, well, you didn't grade out, so I didn't.
Yeah, it's right here.
No, the grayed out part is the soccer field only, I think.
Right,
Yeah, the rest is,
Yeah.
there's the multi-dash line that shows where the property lot line will be.
It shows parking. Listen, you have to have a conceptual plan.
can't see it from here.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's all right.
It's a bit of a.
When you present a subdivision plan, the part of the subdivision requirements are you show potential development plans. So that's what this is, a potential development plan. We have the field, we have parking,
So it
we have
reflects
separate.
it. Okay, I got it.
What's right across the Amity Road from that driveway? That Sergeant?
Oh, that's Sergeant Drive.
That's what I thought. Where there's a gas station on the corner.
Yeah, the gas station's over
Mhm.
there. Let me see.
It'd be interesting to see what DOT says.
There's Sergeant Drive.
It's offset a bit.
No, the entrance is actually,
No, the entrance is gonna, I mean, the driveway is gonna be pretty much right across from Sergeant Drive on his diagram. Again, we can't, I can't guess what DOT is gonna say about that, but I'm not sure.
they don't want, they don't want to see, they would rather see T intersections than offset intersections. But again, if DOT has problems with that, we can work around it.
Mhm.
You know, you can just as easily move this up, but again, DOT prefers T intersections. They don't
I
like
mean,
to have,
crossed intersections, not,
Yeah.
because I think of a T as this.
well, they like an intersection to T out. In other words, where you have one, they want to see the other one apart. They don't want to see something in between here and another road over here. They frown on that if they can avoid it.
Right, I mean, the lot line you're asking for is gonna put your driveway there, you know. If,
Well,
Yeah, well, this is the lot line anyways.
right, no,
what I think the key is that you don't have a site plan in front of us. Oh,
Right.
we're
That's
not,
what, this is
yeah. It's hype.
just a subdivision.
I understand
It
that,
just shows a potential development scheme.
I get that, but the lot line that we would approve, that subdivision line.
This is
Right.
the subdivision.
So that limits where you can put driveways and things, just saying.
That doesn't, well, just remember that we always come back in for a lot line revision plan, which would move that if we had to.
I get it,
And so long as the owner owns both parcels,
right.
you know, you have that option. And we've done that in the past, but very seldom.
So EDC weighed in on this, economic development weighed in on this. We have a letter from them, and they seemed very positive on this. And then the Conservation Commission also agreed that this is fine because it does provide recreational space. They suggested the possibility of, rather than a waiver, a payment in lieu of open space, which would require an appraisal of the property as it exists and as it's split, and then a 10% of that value payment in lieu of waiver.
It's pre-development. It's pre-development.
Yes, I understand that.
Yeah,
The lot as it stands, not as it will be developed.
correct.
Yes.
And we're asking you not to require us to do that because of the nature of the investment that's incurred here, the nature of the purpose of it, in consideration of the other things he's done with the adjacent facility and what it brings to the community. Quite frankly, what we would probably not do this or approach it in a different manner if we've got to come up with money on top of everything else we're doing to achieve it. I don't know how to say that differently.
That's a fair statement to make.
But that's what we would probably do. And if you look at the letter that we provided in support of our waiver, the community is certainly not short of existing open space by virtue of the open space you have and the open space you have by virtue of a great part of your community is in watershed and land that way. So just quite frankly, wearing my attorney developer hat, you shouldn't just take open space and people's money because you can. It's when we're trying to achieve something in a business-oriented way that does benefit, the community in other ways.
It is a private field, though.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
And so the only way you can step on it and play on it is if you are a member of the soccer club next door. Yes. Or attending to watch a game.
Or part of our program, which
Right.
a lot of the Bethany
which
children,
one would pay for.
a lot of
Correct,
the Bethany children
yes. Mhm.
are.
So while it is preserving open space in a way, because it's an open field and it's a soccer field, it is not necessarily expanding the publicly available recreational space in the town.
Not necessarily, but it's also a business-oriented use, which you don't have much of, and you're encouraging
I get that,
addition of a business.
and that is another hat we wear, and it is in the BNI area. But it is, it is paying land. I mean, but it's not quite fair to present it as a public good. It is a open space, but it's not open to the public.
Your requirements are not.
I know, but it was,
you
one of the
read-
statements made was it benefits the public because it's open space, but it's open space, but it's not per se to the benefit of the public is the point I was.
I guess it's all a matter of perception. My feeling is having the creation of any of these facilities and fields is not the goal is to not have another factory. But if we do have another factory, that's not negative. You shouldn't be asking us for open space as well, because we're contributing to the business needs in this community, which aren't, extensive. But you're going to have another attractive facility on your main drag in the community, which is a positive thing. And we're trying to do this in a way where we create a separate, independent economic lot, which you can tax, and you can tax a little bit higher. Because, quite frankly, one of the things I suggested to Joe, and he wanted to create an independent taxable lot, because he thought that's what the community would like more, is I can create this line, have a conforming lot there, and just add this to the park next door. You wouldn't even get to review that until we got to the site plan level. But we don't want to do that. We want to do it the correct way. Get the independent business lot. It can be taxed as an independent business lot, and then come in with the site plan after.
I do understand your argument, what you were trying to put forward about the pure public space versus a privately owned, but I will say, I do agree with the argument that even having a business come into town that offers
I agree.
sports area, I would view that very positively. I would count that as an asset, even if, the kids had to join that. I think having it in town is nicer for any parent then who doesn't have to go 3 towns away. I know you're soccer, but if I play field hockey, right? So, I think the idea of offering more sports locations is a general positive, but I do acknowledge your comment about pure public space.
And it isn't just pure soccer, there is a lacrosse component.
It tears up the fields.
Yeah.
I used to play soccer, so.
Right.
But
Holy Cross practice is football there.
okay.
Happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any other questions?
Public,
Public?
public hearing, right?
I know. Yeah, no, I know. I was
I have
asking us.
questions. I want
Do we
to
have
hear-
questions?
I want
Do
to
you have
hear from the public before I have my
questions or comments from the rest of the crowd here, the public. Again, name and address.
Steve Winter, 59 months in a row. Lifelong resident in town, currently the chairman of the Economic Development Commission. Did submit to your commission the letter of endorsement regarding this project. We've had several interactions with Mr. Naples regarding the 667 property at the CFC Park. When we learned that Mr. Naples was purchasing this property, we were very encouraged by that because he has demonstrated commitment to youth activities in our town, use of the space that is congruent with current uses that are going on at the airport, youth football, lacrosse, field hockey, the flea market, open space type things, draw people in. We had a conversation with him when he brought this presentation to us about a month ago about what potential uses could go on in that front building, and we came to agreement that the best things for the town would be to attract businesses that are complementary to the business he provides, as well as the activities that occur on the adjacent public airport property. We actually have a business owner who lives in town, who has businesses outside of here that wants to bring a business to that location. That I think would be a very good use of the space. I don't want to speak too much in detail on that because there's still negotiations, but it would be something that I think could certainly benefit the town if this project was allowed to go forward. And I do understand the nuance of public open space versus open space. The attorneys and Mr. Garcia's, delineation there is we do have a lot of open space in town. We are very aggressive and I think very proactive, and it's good for our town. We have that. I would be cautious to hamstring a project like this based upon that little nuance when it's going to be 3 times the required. It's 60%, not 20%. He's allocating a lot of space to these outdoor activities. And I think if you're familiar with the property, it creates just a natural flow from the CFC into the airport property. The activities that go on there are going to feel very congruent and very, in symmetry. And what happens in front of the building, I think creates a lot of opportunities for our town in B&I zone to attract businesses that are going to bring in tax revenue, benefit both properties. And he draws a lot of people in with his CFC park. I imagine a lot of people are going to come there because of it. My understanding is, I think Lady Creed is our #1 taxpayer in town. I believe Mr. Naples is too. And he's made a very continued, deliberate commitment to our town and growing our community. And we're very appreciative of that. So hopefully, take that into consideration and improve this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You had something? You looked like you had wanted to speak. No, it looked like you were raising your hand before.
Mr. Chairman, if you would read the legal notice.
I read it before we started.
You did?
Yeah.
Yes.
Where was I?
I don't know.
Just briefly, we'd ask you to approve the subdivision. We'd ask you to provide a waiver on the open space and earlier, I made a good point. Development, it does open up some interest for different types of businesses in the front building that different members of the economic development commission are saying, we'd like you to consider this, which is a little, again, we're talking to some people that, change the dynamic a little bit. We had a previous lease negotiation for uses within the front building. We got some people pushing back that didn't like those. We lost those tenants regardless because of the part with this commission. But we do also think that the positive aspect of this and the expansion of the park does give us open some doors for different types of compatible uses with the front space. So we're hoping we're hoping that comes together. The Economic Development Commission has been helpful with referring some people to Joe that they like the idea of, and he's actually hopefully meeting with one this week.
Okay. You had another question?
Aaron, do you have anything that you wanted to say?
Yeah, a few questions if commissions.
Please do.
John Paul, you mentioned that QVHD had approved this application.
You have a notice from PVHD.
Here's my question. What did they approve?
The front building, because we don't have a reserve area for the front building. In other words, before you can do a subdivision, you have to have a code compliant area for septic system. We provided that, and they provided us a response.
So the approval is that the front building,
correct,
were to be used for another use would be accepted. There's a reserve area on that.
Yes, because the reserve area sufficient size that it would be usable for pretty near anything within reason.
You included that, because
Yes,
I saw the diagram.
You should have a copy of QVHD's review in your file.
Right, and it said that there's adequate space on the residual lot for
Yes.
an alternate septic in the area
Yes,
down here by the corner.
correct.
Yeah.
And then you can put another piece.
Right.
Okay, so that's one question, because it was mentioned that there are other discussions going on for what that property might be used for. Nobody knows what that is.
We have to come back in with either a business use or a site plan approval for what the front building is and for what the rear lot is.
Okay, but that I just was limited to what
Yeah.
QVHD said. So I've had some discussions with them recently. The open space question, certainly an open question. There's no question about that. The applicant should understand, probably already does understand, that should open space, at least the amount of that 10% pre-development value is up to the applicant to provide should the commission ask for that. There is no septic proposed or possible on the lot that you're proposing, correct?
There is septic possible, we don't have bathrooms there, we're not proposing that.
All right, so there's no septic room or there's?
No, there's plenty of room, it's just we're not proposing
Several acre lot.
it. It's just 3 acres.
Okay, QVHD didn't comment on that.
No, because we're not asking for septic system on that lot.
So the planned use of that lot is essentially just the soccer field and the parking.
There's only so much, and I think Joe would admit to this, he's got a lot of irons in the fire that we got approved last year that he's now doing, lights, parking and that thing. So the intent is, if this goes forward, we do this next year.
Mhm.
So we would come back to you sometime over the winter with a site plan application.
Right, but that site,
When we plant field, or we change positions and put a Dunkin' Donuts there, we have to come back with a site plan showing that a septic system works. If it doesn't work, we can't put it in the field, we can't put it in the back.
well, I mean, if you're not gonna have any bathroom or food service facilities on that lot, then you wouldn't necessarily need.
Correct. And that's why we're not applying.
And they could walk across to the CFC building, I
Right,
presume,
additional
which
plan
does have
Mr.
restrooms.
Garcia's designing has that cost. Safe egress.
Does that add additional usage to the approved septic on the,
It would be time for this.
for the additional?
Oh, yeah, when we did this many, many moons ago, it's cheaper to do a third increase than rather than come back and do a third increase now. The same thing with the parking. You know, we planned for this increase on the other lots. We can use it for this. So we have sufficient capacity.
That's our question at that time.
Like you mentioned, about how you saw how many people were there, so many people. I drove by today and it didn't seem like there was adequate parking for what they currently had and the amount of people that were currently
We're
there.
fixing the parking in the back now.
In part, that's because we haven't yet built what you approved last
Mhm.
year, and that's happening this year. And in part, this helps
Mhm.
resolve that as well, because both, it gives us additional parking and it gives us additional field space, so people aren't stacking up, you're spreading out the use. So it helps alleviate that condition.
There's
Both
a lot of congestion there.
function and reality.
Well, on this drawing, it appears that you already are for planning for parking because that doesn't exist, am I right?
This would all be new parking, correct?
Right, so you're already somewhat planning ahead.
Oh, absolutely. If we built the feeling that the additional parking is necessary and complementary to the whole complex. But I don't know if you on the commission, but on the existing CFC park, we received from this commission at the same time we received permission to put up the lighting and expansion of the parking.
Yes, but that was on the other, that was on the CFC,
Correct.
on the rear.
But that hasn't happened yet. If that was in today, it would have helped provide relief from the condition that was with this major tryout.
Right.
Which is exceptional. 2 weeks a year type of thing.
And my last question.
Yes.
So the impact of this proposal on the existing remaining building with regard to access and parking, there's no impact. That is, you'd be able to continue to access the rear lot, the proposed parking that you have, or the building itself. Let's say if
The main building will stand on its own, and the parking will still reach compliant with the requirements.
Okay.
The existing factory. That was all laid out on.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you're not altering that existing factory or its
Not right now.
associated parking or
Correct.
driveway or anything?
Yeah, actually, we're not, you can see where the current
Yeah.
parking ends.
Mhm.
So it,
Well, there's a drive on the other side too.
yes, there is, but we're not, cutting off the existing condition. We're using the open space that's there.
For most any use of that building, you have sufficient parking.
Mhm.
And we have the curb cut already in place.
We actually have a little more room needed.
Could be 2 to 9 residential.
The only thing with the site plan that we presented to you, when we had potential tenants for this building, the only thing that changed in here is we created some dumpster locations and moved a couple handicap parkings around, you may remember. We never got that far because, you didn't have a quorum and then we lost the tenants. So, We never asked if that proved in the end was true. But if we have some room to pivot, we don't think we need it.
All right.
So the field, I have a couple of questions. The field's gonna be green artificial surface, right?
They may be, the ideal to have them green artificial, we may start with grass fields. That's not yet been determined.
No, yep.
Natural
Okay.
grass.
And then
Yeah.
you're gonna be cutting down a swath of trees to make the parking area next to the building and next to the other soccer fields.
And plant, we've got a planting plan as well.
Okay.
Again, it's not a site review. Right.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm just making a point.
Yeah, you'll get it too. We'll get
All
a
right,
chance
so-
to weigh in.
So I guess the issue I have, the arguments for that Bethany has enough open space does not hold water. So we might as well say any other subdivider that comes in, we could apply that same argument to them. You don't have to worry about open space. So to me, that doesn't hold water. And also what doesn't hold water is the fact that it is a recreational facility commercially available for those who choose to participate and not open for town residents. So for me, the subdivision regulations for the open space requirement is in place so that we can make sure that as a town, we continue to maintain our rural character as our town gets developed. And we also have in place for those who aren't able to do that for whatever reason, we have the 10% in lieu in order to go to the town's open space fund so we can use that. Now, I went by there tonight looking at something else, and I was overjoyed to see so many kids there, and congratulate the owners and the operators for what they do. And if they really want to be good citizens of town, they'll abide by our regulations and contribute to our open space fund so that we can continue to be Bethany as we are. So I disagree with your assessment of
So
private open space or private recreation facilities.
To shoot every arrow in my quiver, and I think it's a legitimate arrow to say that you have quite a bit of open space in your community now. You can agree or not agree. That's what we're here for. But I will tell you the other reasons I think you should waive the open space requirement is number one, he's one of your top taxpayers in the community, so he's already contributing a great deal to your community today as he sits here. Number two, he took a facility that was in poor repair and has upgraded it substantially since he bought it, and is adding to it more and providing you something that you can be proud of. Now, I'll actually just tell you, I had one of my best clients, Joe's one of my best clients, called me today, and his granddaughter was one of the people who tried out at the facility yesterday. She's 11. That's what they do now, 11-year-old child. Her mother, was a captain at Quinnipiac several years ago. She's on QVC now. You can see her. She's one of the presenters. And she called her father because she knew I was involved with this program to tell him what a class operation it was. And she's been playing soccer since she was 5. And what a great program. So that's what we're bringing. And that's one of the things we want to continue to bring. I think you should consider in the business setting that what we're doing and the taxes that we'll bring on its own you can use to spend however you want to consider waiving the open space fees. That's the second set of reasons I think you should consider that.
Anyone else? Okay, because I guess we have enough to make a decision. We don't have a reason to continue, right?
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, you were.
You can either one.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So all those in favor of closing the public hearing at this point in time, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, it's closed. We have till the next meeting to actually make a decision, correct?
You have actually 65 days to make a decision.
So I would like to have us think about this and make a decision at our next meeting. And maybe I'll sit with you, Hiram, we can talk about a motion. And now Our next one. Our next application is for 54 Cedar Road. This is Planning and Zoning Commission. The town of Bethany will hold a public hearing on March 31st, 2026 at 7 p.m. in the commission meeting room of Bethany Town Hall. I really have to read this whole thing, huh? I can't just say it was noticed properly. 40 Peck Road, Bethany, Connecticut, to hear the application by Joe's Farm LLC regarding property at 54 Cedar Road. Applicant seeks a subdivision of land. The foregoing application is filed as available for review during regular business hours in the Land Use Department at Bethany Town Hall. Public is invited to attend and be heard. It's a hybrid meeting. This was dated on the 12th day of March, 2026, from our CEO, Curtis Bosco, and it was published on March 17th, 2026, and on March 24th, 2026, in the New Haven Register. Go ahead.
Oh,
yeah, it's your opportunity to present.
All right. For the record, my name is John Paul Garcia. I'm a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor, licensed to practice in the state of Connecticut. Principal officer, 193 Wood Road, the town of Bethany. I'm here representing Joe's Farm LLC in the matter of a subdivision of 32.5 acre parcel located on the west side of Bull Hill Road, in between Virginia Rail to the north and Schaefer Road to the south. This is right across from the community gardens and the pond. The intent is for owners to break off on Bull Hill Road. The access will be from Bull Hill Road. We've already been to wetlands. We have an approval from inland wetlands. We have an approval, and you should have it in your file. We have an approval from QVHD for the creation of the lot. And that's basically it. There's no open space requirement because this is being transferred between family members. And that's basically it. It's a simple 2-lot split.
Questions, comments? Hearing, yes, sir.
Sorry, I got a question.
Sure.
Just curious, when you went to wetlands, there is a way to access the property.
We talked about that with wetlands, and this is the way we decided to go, and they were acceptable.
I understand that. Let me just finish my question. What did they say, or what was their reasoning with regard to accessing the lot when they have an access that doesn't go through wetlands, and when they approve does go through wetlands? Just curious as to.
First place, if we came in through Cedar Road, we had a problem with turning radius and width of road and conflict with the existing house. There's an existing house.
And wetlands is concerned about those issues?
Well, if we can't overcome it, if you're creating a nonconformity in order to get a road in, yes, wetlands was signed off. They gave us an approval on this application.
Okay, I'm just trying to get their reasoning down. That's all.
You have to talk to wetlands. They approve it.
I know. I pulled their minutes, and what they approved that access point for the driveway. They did not approve your redress point. They wanted you to come back with a plan of plantings and.
Yeah, we got to give them some.
But for the subdivision,
yeah,
they did approve that as an access point.
But they approved the access. They approved the lot creation. We just have to come back with some additional plans, and I'm waiting to get that information. Well, it's still an approval.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions or concerns?
Just do we need a documentation all of family transfer? Is that necessary?
That's in the subdivision regulations.
No, but I mean, to give the waiver, do we need a document?
Well, they can't transfer until they have approval.
Okay.
And I would assume.
We'll send you a letter. It'll be part of it.
Once they make a transfer.
For the record, the owners here.
I'm just asking staff if we need
If you want something, we can give you the deed.
it. I'm just asking, that's all.
No,
do we need it?
The reality is that once it's transferred, that new person who owns
Okay, then we don't need it. Okay, that's the only question.
Okay. Right, so if we approve this, and it's not an interfamily transfer, then that's a violation of our approval. And
Then your approval is not valid.
right,
Or they would be subject to open space, either
Yeah.
payment in lieu of, which would be, that's why you, that's why you have a zoning and wetlands enforcement officer to make sure that things
Right.
are followed through.
Typically what happens is, well, when the attorney or the real estate agent shows up the day before the closing and says to the CEO, we have this, to transfer, he would need to be confident, he or she, whoever, needs to be confident that it meets the regulations and meets the requirements.
For the record, I have the owner here, Tom Cavalier. For the record, Tom Cavalier. He lived up Virginia Rail. 27 Virginia Rail,
Spell your last name.
Cavaliere. I've lived on this property my whole life. And my daughter, who's right there, is getting married.
oh,
And she
congratulations.
wants to come and live next to her parents.
Are you sure?
So it's all legit. My daughter's coming. I don't know why. We're getting older. I don't know why she wants to come, but she's coming.
Okay, no, that's fair. These are just, I mean, these are things that we would like to have.
So
We're just trying to be careful. Yeah, I's and T's, right?
Could you remind me of the acreage?
it's 32. The entire property is about 32 and a half. And if I remember correctly, this lot is about 3.5. You're in a watershed overlay zone. So 3 acres.
Minimum. Yeah, it's the 3 acre minimum. It's not part of town.
Yeah, well, it's, yeah.
Okay. And again, we're just reviewing this subdivision, not the site plan.
Well, once this is created, it doesn't come back to you guys. Then it just goes to QDHD and Kirk.
Right. Administrative approval.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments, questions? Then I guess I'll take a motion to close the hearing.
Move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. All right, it's closed. Can we discuss this now if we want to?
Sure. You can take action on it.
Do we want to put this aside and think about it more? Or are you comfortable making a decision tonight?
I'm comfortable.
I am.
I believe I'm comfortable with it.
All right. I mean, there's no waiver required because it's passed. We just have to approve the subdivision. Any concerns about doing so?
How about I move that we approve application 26-2-S 54 Cedar Road.
I'll second it.
As presented, yes. All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, nay. All right.
You'll regret that. You'll regret it.
You can never regret having your children in town.
No, you cannot. Let me tell you, mine, as someone whose children are not in town, you cannot regret having your children.
Take care of that, now they're gonna be close there.
What
What
a
a kid, what a kid.
Thank you.
Okay,
I will.
bye everyone, thank you.
Mhm.
Good night.
And that actually ends our public hearings for the evening. And we have new business to move to. So I guess, thank you for your time and your work. Just as a reminder, when we do get around to discussing the other application, it takes a 3/4 vote to waive open space. That's from section 9.4 of the regulation. So for new business, we have an application for 12 Sergeant Drive. This is application number 2025-13. 12 Sergeant Drive LLC. This has already been introduced as business in the.
Yeah. Again, for the record, I'm not going to go through the whole thing again. You've got it twice. John Paul Garcia. You have the plans in front of you. We discussed it at length last month. I don't think there's anything of any new shapes that can be introduced. Here's a full-size citizen. Sure.
It's right here. It's right here.
You got it here.
Right
You
here.
gave us a full-size set last time. I have one at home.
Okay.
I like the smaller ones, they're easier to carry. I've looked it over. So, Kurt, do you have anything to add to us?
No. No, they adjusted, and as you and I discussed,
Right.
Mr. Chairman, they adjusted the garage location, extended the parking area. It's legitimately a business use.
And it's a legitimate garage. It's got actual garage doors, not loading docks. Parking is adequate. Any concern?
I have two questions.
Sure.
The lighting,
Down lighting, it's down lighting, it's actually lighting
yeah, but
detail.
there's two different luminaires presented. I wasn't sure which one is outdoor. There's two, there's one that's shielded, one that's not shielded.
It's a shield, it has to be fully
Okay.
shielded,
I just
and
making
they're motion,
sure.
and they're motion activated.
And on the plans, there's a leaving of 5-foot wide swath of trees by the roadway. That's all cut now. So are you gonna replant there?
Yes, there will probably be trees planted across the front.
The back ones are still in, but
Yeah, the back is still there.
not on front, along the eastern border with the business next door.
Well, they have a drainage ditch.
By the road,
Problem,
right here. It says, the plans say leaving this 5-foot.
yeah, but I think they're right up to the edge to put the ditch in. They couldn't put the ditch in without the trees coming down.
So this is not true any longer on the site plan.
No, so they'll have to replant that.
Yeah, that's right on your property line.
That's correct. The
Right.
ditch is right there, and that shuts off. If you notice on the lots, the lots drain from west to east.
Mhm.
So when we originally did this back in 2007, 2008, we're trying to keep the drainage on each lot. I did all those lots on each lot and get it to the back where there's a fairly substantial drainage ditch that picks up all the runoff from Amity Road, the gas station, and all the way down.
That's the drainage ditch at the very back of the
That's
property.
correct. So the
Southern edge,
idea was-
southern edge of the
That's correct. So the Wetlands Commission wanted us, that was created when they created the subdivision, back in 88 or whenever they created the subdivision. That ditch was supposed to take all the drainage.
Mhm.
Excuse me, please. And so the idea was you put the drainage ditch on the side and get the water to go towards the back into a small detention basin and then down the drainage ditch down to the Sergeant River.
Right, so you have that detention basin there as
Yep.
well. Yep.
And again, Wetlands signed off on this. You should have a copy of that in your file. QVHD signed off on it. You should have a copy of that in your file. And that's basically it. So if you want to make this condition of approval, they gotta plant trees along, that's fine.
Concerns? Any other comments, concerns?
Is there any provision for separation for any fuel that may get spilled due to parking and whatever?
They're not fueling there.
Yeah, but I mean, just the cars being on the asphalt and then it's going into wetlands, isn't there concern that, somebody's leaking oil?
There's not sufficient, it's no more susceptible than any other parking area. You're not having cars dripping oil constantly. And what little you might get, the little VOC you get, will get stopped in the basin. So wetlands wasn't a concern.
And the garage itself, the equipment that's stored there?
That's inside, and there's maintenance per se, but there's no floor drains, there's no oil water separator, because they're not doing oil changes and stuff like that. And again, you wash the vehicles. If any VOCs end up going on, getting trapped in the basin. But again, that's not a major concern because it's not a car wash operation.
Any concerns, Harold?
No.
All right. I guess we discussed and we'll make a decision. Comments from anyone?
Not me either.
Okay, then I'll entertain a motion. Want to make a motion to approve? Perhaps?
I'll make a motion. Make a motion that we approve finally application 2025 -013 12 Sergeant Drive with the site plan amended to replant trees that have been cut on the eastern border as noted on the site plan.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay?
Thank
There
you
you
very
go.
much. And have a pleasant
Thank you.
Easter or Passover.
And thank you for adapting the application for us.
Yes, thanks.
Now on to old business. This is application 2025-009, and we will eventually be getting to 2025-010, both at Hopbrook Storage LLC, 43 and 51 Russell Road. There was a request for intervenor status last time through a petition for, on a 22A-19. We discussed that with town council and concurred with the advice to grant that intervenor status, which means that we can go into the discussion of the concerns of the intervenor. Now, an intervenor gets the same privileges as the applicant to speak. The applicant also gets a chance to rebut afterwards. The applicant has already proposed this and presented it. So I will give you a chance. You are Ms. Marenko, correct? I will give you a chance to present your case. I will tell you. Bring this up here. Here it is. That will accept the petition, grant intervenor status, that allows Ms. Marenko to present evidence specific to environmental damage and specifically how our town zoning regulations give us both the jurisdiction to act on that and make a finding, including specific recommendations that would be violated as they pertain to the application before us. Now, I'm going to remind you that the application before us is solely an after-the-fact business and industrial permit. The site plan for these properties has already been deemed approved and is not before us tonight. So comments about the site plan will not be germane to what's before us tonight. The applicant will be allowed rebuttal time following your presentation. I will tell everyone here, the two of you remaining, that this is not a public hearing. So there's not a room here or time for public comment. Only comments from our intervener, who has the same status and ability to comment as the applicant. And so go ahead, please begin.
Lori.
Lori Marenko, 21 Colville Road in Bethany. I am representing my father-in-law and mother-in-law who are the budding property owners. And it is my understanding, in accordance to the agenda, that the purpose of this is to bring the property into compliance with CGS 8-3F. And my first environmental concern about this is 75% of that property is in the wetlands review area. So that entire building is in the wetlands review area. And I am not sure why Inland Wetlands did not get a chance to look at this and approve the site plan, because I think that's very pertinent information.
Again, the site plan is not before us. This is a business permit, a BNI permit to operate the business on the site. Okay. I'm just telling you that we're not allowed to go and reopen a hearing that's already been closed and decided.
I appreciate that.
That's actually a violation. Sure. That will get us in trouble and you, mostly us.
And I'm not sure the difference, to be honest with you. As far as the classes go, as far as workshop is concerned, the submitted statement of use for workshop states that business hours are Monday through Friday, It's misleading because the classes are conducted during the evening and all weekend long and even outside. And therefore, the statement of use is incorrect.
Is that an environmental concern? Because you're allowed
That
to
is an
only
environmental
present environmental concerns.
Because there's a lot of heavy damage going on there as far as welding is concerned. Any type of, there's oil coming down from that property from all the machinery that's being used there. Don't forget that these were born and raised as storage buildings. They're born and raised as storage buildings, and the tenants are in there and they're using it for anything other than storage. So you're trying to put a business in there into a building that is a storage building, born and raised. So it doesn't make sense to me that you have somebody teaching an adolescent MIG welding and it's meant for a storage building, and that is absolutely environmental.
And the environmental risk that is created is specifically.
What is that risk?
Oh, I could, hang on.
Again, please try to make the comments about the specific environmental risk and what regulations that we have to bring to bear on those points.
Okay. Federal, state, and local environmental violations at the property 43 Russell Road. First of all, our own zoning regulation 64A-1 prohibits any offensive or hazardous waste from being discharged into the air, ground, wetlands, streams, and adjoining properties. And MIG welding is definitely creates that type of hazardous offense. 64A2, the same thing, creates a public nuisance or endangers persons or property on or beyond that lot. 911K states all outside storage shall be enclosed and concealed, and all hazardous and toxic materials stored are adequately contained to meet DEEP standards for storage or hazardous toxic materials.
Do you have documentation that that is not being done?
I'm sorry, documentation of what?
That is not being done, that there's activity there that poses a risk.
We've been complaining site storage for 7 years. We've given these pictures to Lena Fraser numerous times and she's done nothing about it.
And what is being stored in these photos?
It's private property. I don't know, but as you can see, it's metal debris, which is harmful to the environment as it leaks into the soil. And because that's in the inland wetland review area, that's hazard of polluting the wetlands.
So it looks to me like it's large pieces of solid metal.
And that's 24/7 for the past 7 years.
Okay. But how is that getting into the environment and leaching into it?
Because any type of metal seeps into the soil, especially since it's inside the inland wetland review area.
But you're bringing up something that's already been approved, and we're not discussing it being inside the wetland review area.
Okay, so I have to bring it up to the Connecticut State Inland Wetland Review Area?
Yeah.
Do I go to the state? Okay, I've already done that.
Right, because
It's in
again,
the
we
process.
can't reopen a hearing that's been closed and decided.
Absolutely. Okay.
You only get one hearing on each property. That's only fair to the owners and the applicants as well as. And so we cannot go back and revisit the site plan, the wetlands. The purpose of the intervener status you've been granted is to present evidence of specific environmental hazard or risk. A general risk based on the activity of welding is not a specific. Welding is done in a lot of different places all over the world. And if you put in appropriate mitigating strategies, you do not create a risk. Most of the risk is to the people doing the welding, to be fair, because the vapors are right there. Do you have any evidence that there is carryover to your property, to other properties of any of these hazardous materials?
We don't know that. I don't have, how could I have that type of proof? I just don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. If you just take your phone and you Google, is welding harmful to the environment? just please take a second, just Google, is welding harmful to the environment?
What part of what specific welding? Because there's several different kinds of welding.
Just says welding, just plain old welding, and you're gonna get a lot of information, a lot of educational resources about how welding is very detrimental to our environment. Can I just
Yeah.
continue reading on this?
Lori, come to the mic if you don't mind.
But I don't think we have welding restrictions per se. I mean, I would say there's some auto shops, right, that we have in town. So I would say, I agree with you, that people conducting the welding have the greatest potential danger. And obviously, I'm thinking the amount of welding, parts per million, et cetera, you know, you could have a large scale welding operation that could present the problem in some place versus a small scale. So I said scale, I'm sure, enters into the consideration as well.
It's scale, it's shielding, it's attachment, it's materials used in the welding. There's a lot of variables.
And that's our concern. Especially because it's in the inland wetland review area, and even a portion of the parcel is the actual wetlands. So that's our concern.
Okay.
If I could speak about unsafe usage.
In what way? I mean, you go ahead if it's a hazard.
It is. I'm going to show you the attached pictures in a moment. You could just go on workworkshop.com and you could see that the tenant allows adolescents, families to use MIG welders, open forge flames, grinders, high temperature metal working equipment. Again, the building is a storage building. It is not for public assembly. It is not meant to have people coming and going into that building.
Can I, if I can ask a question, because I want to make sure I recall properly. I thought the case history with this one was that when the applicant, correct me if I'm wrong, the applicant purchased the property from the previous owner, and the artist was already in there. And there was an issue with the applicant where, in fact, there might even been another applicant, but like I said, correct, but there was a piece of paper, there was an intended use that was filed with a previous ZEO, not even Lena, it was a prior ZEO that was accepted by the ZEO that established that there was an artist in there. And we have that on file. I thought, and like I said, I don't want to misspeak, but that's my recollection.
That's my understanding. That's my recollection as well. I think that there are a couple of things that are directly related to that. If this is a wetlands issue, I guess my question would be, why isn't this in front of wetlands? Secondly, if the use has been going on for 7 years, it's my understanding that at least that period of time, it's a use that's established, it's already been established. It would be difficult to show, based upon somebody's thoughts that something might be a problem, that there is in fact a problem. There's no evidence that there is a problem. You could look up Google until you're blue in the face, doesn't really matter. Talking about this site, and is there a problem, and does it affect wetlands? Those are the issues that the commission has to deal with, Lori.
So I think where I'm getting at is, and I'm just trying to pull apart like the arguments, right? So I think the town has on file accepted intended use. So the town accepted an artist in there. So
Metal fabricating artist.
yeah, so I think that's been established before. So that so my statement is, I don't think that's up for consideration. I think that's been accepted by the town by like I said, somebody before Lena.
But there's 3 buildings. I'm talking about 43, and you're talking about 51.
Well, there are two units, as I understand. I don't remember whether they're A and B or
It's a single application for 43 and 51.
Correct.
They're lumped into both. So
But there also is a state law that mandates an environmental protection that even if you risk that type of pollution, it's against the law, and you cannot even risk environmental pollution as to what's going on there right now. It's directly in the wetlands. And it also correlates with septic, because can I talk about septic?
Again, if you have a specific environmental risk that you can cite regarding the septic,
I do.
again, you have to focus on environmental risks from the application, which, as I understand it, is just a BNI application. Is that correct? Yeah, for the business to operate. So it has to be something that comes from the operation of the business, not from the layout of the site. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm trying to just keep this on the path that it needs to stay on, because we can't range off that path.
Okay. So I guess I have to go back and try to figure out why this was approved back then when you have all of these inconsistencies.
Not necessarily. That's a different question entirely. If you feel there are uses that are not properly attending to what's been approved, you can bring them to the CEO and he can investigate. So those are complaints you can bring.
Okay.
They're not a reason to disallow the business to operate, simply because if for you to bring a thing that we could respond to, it would have to be a clear that the business itself, by its operation, creates a substantial risk of hazard to the environment.
Okay, it does. Okay.
Like to give you what I would expect to see is soil samples, air samples outside that are causing the hazard, that you can identify chemicals that have leached off the property, or air samples off the property that make operations on that site an environmental hazard.
How could a private citizen do that?
You can pay.
There's there are testing engineers.
I hired a water there's a water testing service in Woodbridge, I think, on Bradley.
And my friend did that for his new well. And you can also get air sampling done. They can set up little devices that breathe in the air and run it through, and then they test it on the filters.
Similar to what like a radon sampling they do in homes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he could do that. My in-laws can go ahead and get those.
You need the data to make the complaint stick. And frankly, for the other stuff you're concerned about, if you feel they're violating what they're permitted to do, that's a zoning enforcement issue.
Okay, but for here today, I want to talk about just what's being done on that property.
Okay, again, it has to pertain to the to the basis of the business they're doing.
Correct.
Not to whether it's in a wetland or a building extends to a certain place, because those have already been approved.
Okay. So I want to talk about, can I talk about certificates of occupancy?
That's not an environmental hazard.
It will be, yes, it will, because I'm so sorry, Kurt. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
I feel like I should just have you clip that on, because you're one of those people who moves as they speak, and that's fine.
So here's the issue. Over the summertime, there was an application that was before the Planning and Zoning Committee. And we, as abutting neighbors, I wanted to make sure that it was in compliance with our fire marshal. It turns out when I walked into our fire marshal's office with these storage buildings, because there's probably about 15 to 20 of them in town, but they are not storage buildings. They're being used as workshops. So when I walked into our fire marshal's office, I says, can I see the fire inspection report for 51 Russell Road? Oh, no, we don't inspect any storage buildings. We don't touch those. So if you can imagine, every one of those 15 to 20 storage buildings that are in town, fire marshal never set foot.
We have 43 and 51 before us. We can't talk about other property.
I wanted to give you a backstory on that.
Okay.
So I am thinking
But again, do you have data, documentation of activities?
I have an FOIA request right now with the town. I'm waiting for them comply with that.
Okay, that may take some time, but that's okay.
Exactly.
Uh,
So this is what's being done at the property. You could see an adolescent here. He must be like 15 years old with an open flame.
But
He's
I
got
would
no,
say- I don't think that's a planning and zoning.
but it is a
consideration.
business, but it's an environmental issue
But
concerning.
whether it's a
What-
12-year-old or a 60-year-old,
Okay,
that's
so,
not P and Z.
so he's working with open flame.
I don't think, I'm just gonna go through them. I don't think an open flame per se is a environmental issue.
You don't think that's a fire hazard?
Well,
It is-
Fire hazard is not
That's-
per se environmental. That's a separate issue. Again, if you feel that that needs some fire marshal to take a look, you're welcome to request him to do that, I suppose.
it seems like some of your concerns fall between commissions or agencies. We can only act upon what,
Right.
we can govern, right? So, whether there's a fire hazard, probably needs to go to the fire marshal here. I don't think.
Again, we need to have a remedy to offer you, and what we are considering is a request for an after-the-fact permit to operate the business they're operating and have been operating for 7 years or more.
Right, so I guess my question is.
So I guess we don't, you don't, when what we consider for a B&I permit does not include fire status or fire inspection or anything like that. That is not in the things we are supposed to consider for that. Those are valid things to be concerned about, but they're not something that pertains to the business before us that we have tonight. Again, we can't rehear the stuff that's already been approved because the owner is acting on that, and you can't ask them to be subject to a later change. That's the state law. Once it's
Right.
approved, it's approved. We can't go back and reopen a hearing that's been closed. We can't go back and rehear a property that's been permitted. We can, however, use our zoning enforcement or our wetlands enforcement or our fire marshals to enforce violations of our existing code and regulations. But we can't deny them the right to do business because of a potential issue. There has to be an actual documented issue. And in this particular case, it needs to pertain and rise from the actual act of doing the business, of running the business there. It can't be because they put something in the wrong place. It has to be inherent in the business we're attempting to approve or not. You see what I'm saying?
I do, but I disagree with you respectfully.
I'm just going on the advice I've been given.
Oh, no, I
I
understand.
think one of the best things, if you have a concern about something detrimental to your family's health, right, on the property, I think one of the best ways is what Stephen had mentioned, is using a ZEO, because we do have accepted requests for use, which is on file. It has been, the business has been operating there. But if you think something's happening, that there's an emission either into the air or in the water or in the soil, then the best thing probably is, again, to document it somehow and then present it.
Because again, the statute, SEPA says it has to be a substantial risk and it has to be significant enough to cause direct danger or perception of direct danger to the environment. Suspicion doesn't come to the point of substantial risk because it doesn't, I need factual basis if I'm going to,
I understand.
because you're asking us to restrict business that's being operated and has been operating. You can't ask us to, we don't have, again, the regulations we have right now are to approve the business or not. That's all we can do with this. That's all that's before us right now. And that's the only remedy we have within our regulations in this particular hearing. All right.
Okay.
And so in order to make that drastic a step of not approving a business use, we would need to have substantial evidence that there's an actual harm, not a suspicion of a harm, because you're asking us to take a fairly drastic step, and you can't do that without giving us data that shows that there is an actual harm arising. You see what I'm saying?
I do, but it's a shame that this is an after the fact permit because, as a new business going in there, we
I have what I have. I don't have a time machine. If you
No.
can find me a TARDIS, I'll be great. Let's go do some other things
I
too.
understand completely.
But I can't go back and not approve something that's been going on for 7 years, 7 years ago. I can only talk about now.
Okay, so I guess my only recourse again is to escalate it to the state of Connecticut, inland wetlands, and
All right, yeah.
DEP, and the.
We have to operate within the zoning
Absolutely.
requirements for a BNI permit. That's what
Okay.
we're operating with tonight. Because the site stuff has already gone by.
Right.
Whether that's for good or ill, I can't comment. I wasn't here and it's been done. But it's done, and the state law says it's done.
Right.
So the remedy you can seek from us tonight is a remedy within the confines of approving a BNI permit, which doesn't give a lot of room because there's not many reasons to deny it. It's if it's a valid use in a valid zone.
Okay.
And welding by itself is not listed as a hazardous occupation. I mean, we have welders as she pointed out, at various sites doing various things. Some of it outside, some of it inside.
But in a storage building?
The use that's on file is that a metal sculptor is there. So it's that does not. I mean, again, if he wants to, I mean, I don't know that the definition of a storage building is germane to this for this. You see what I'm saying? I get what you're saying. I do. I feel your pain. I feel what you're saying, but I got to do the legal thing, right? I got to do what's right. And what we have right now is a very narrow application, some fairly broad concerns, but nothing that gels into a specific risk of significance to prevent this business from doing business. Again, if you can come back with, that would have to go probably to zoning, but it would also, you could also go to inland wetlands, and you could even go to QVHD, the health department, if you have evidence that hazardous materials are leaking off that property, either in the air, in the water, or in the soil. If you can come up with evidence that it is creating a danger and causing a risk, because there are plenty of, I mean, welding is done in a lot of locations. Whenever we build a large building, we weld outside.
Right, no, I understand that. I understand.
So the act of welding by itself, while it does carry some hazards, depending on and the level of hazard and the type of hazard depends on the type of welding, the materials being welded, what the energy being released, all that. There's a lot of different things, but the mere act of welding is not by itself a per se hazard to the environment. You can mitigate. Again, there are proper mitigations you can use to prevent drift of atmospheric contamination, to prevent drift of liquid. I'm not an engineer that welds, right? I'm not a civil engineer. I am not an environmental engineer, but I do know that these professions exist and are done safely with the right safeguards. If you have proof that those safeguards are being disregarded by, again, I need data, I need hard evidence.
Right.
A photo of a guy welding is a guy welding. I don't know what they've got around that to minimize or mitigate any potential risks. I don't even know what he's welding with, so I don't even know what the potential risk is. So I get your concern, but again, our hands are tied as to what we can do. We have to, the remedy you seek has to be available to us through the regulations governing this particular application for a permit, which is a relatively narrow application. And the section of our regulations that govern that do not discuss fire hazards, do not discuss wetlands. It's just permitting a business.
I understand what you're saying, and we do have a case in court pending for this property, but I do want to make, for the record, I do want to make note of CGS 22A 427. Even if that pollution hasn't happened yet, the risk of failure of that pollution is a violation against environmental laws. So I just want to make that out there that everybody on this committee is aware of that law. And I guess my attorney will fight that out in court.
That's probably your best recourse on this point.
Right.
Because I don't know that we can get you the relief you want here.
Okay.
Because I don't think we're empowered to.
Okay. No, we won't let it. I mean, we're not going to let this go. We're going to just keep escalating it to wherever we need
That's within your rights. Okay.
So.
I wouldn't stand in your way on that. You get to do what you get to do. I have to do this based on what the legal requirements are and what the process is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Is there a rebuttal from?
Yep.
And again.
Name and address.
Wendy and Bill Grieger, 185 Fairwood Road.
Bill Grieger, 185 Fairwood.
Owners of 4351 Russell Road. Couple things. First of all, these after the fact permits have been on the books since October. This is kind of a little bit crazy now, okay? These hold, all this complaining holds zero merit. These tenants were in the building prior to the Griegers owning the building. They were doing the same exact activities, usage, however you want to say it. The problem was after we bought the building, it seemed to be a personal vendetta, nothing to hold merit that we were doing anything incorrectly. We went through the files to make everything fine about each person's usage that was there. They weren't storage for most of them. They were small businesses that were approved with a, what do you want to call it? A usage permit, however you want to say it, that were all approved. We could not find 2 of them, but these tenants had been in there for at least 7 years or so prior. No change of use that these tenants, they're not doing anything different. And as a matter of fact, on Eric Davis's application, I believe he wrote something about a workshop or something of the sort. There has never been any problems except after the Griegers bought the property. I've had it. This is nonsense now. Nonsense. Every month it's something new. Every month it's something new. And when are we going to stop using public forum for a personal vendetta?
Let's be careful with the accusations, okay? Let's just keep it civil.
Could you just reiterate something for me that, like I said, I did do a little research and found that application. And it was when you purchased the building. In fact, it might have even been the prior one, but what I saw was that there was a long established use of that building by this artist.
Correct.
And so, and that I feel fairly confident in saying, and like I said, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but I think you mentioned, I'm going to ask you to restate for me, that gentleman, the artist who is in there, he has always been working with metals and welding.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes. He's not done anything different than when he first went in there and told the previous owner that he was doing and filed his application for the use that he was doing.
Well, a couple things. When the family bought the property, they bought it from the people that bought the property. That building was there from the 70s. When they bought the property behind it, was commercial property, they had to come in front of zoning to put a house on it. They knew exactly what was going on since the 70s. The other thing which really gets me going, the fire marshal went in every single bay every year, and everything is 100%.
This is an opportunity to rebut the environmental claims.
Yeah, no, but the fire marshal's been in it 100%. He's been in it the last 3 months. Everything's a whole report. It meets every requirement.
Again, I will reiterate, the fire marshal issues are not an environmental issue per se. Okay. Again, her comments were to be environmentally oriented. Make your rebuttal.
Outside of our purview.
Yeah.
No, but the fire marshal checked for hazardous chemicals. Anything had to be in special containers. he checked all that. If for anything, his whole report, everything was perfectly clean. There was accusation, they said there's people living in the bay. This is, if I just, enough
Again,
about this with us, because
the environmental risk aspects, and the fact
That's
that
fine. And we're also not doing anything in the wetlands. I mean, that has nothing to do with the permit, but I mean, she was allowed to state that we're not doing anything in the wetlands. Okay.
again, that's been adjudicated already.
In front of you with these two after the fact permits and have them approved.
That building is non-landscape thing.
Can
Just
I-
for the
I'll
Yeah.
put these in. Yep, I will put these in the
Can I,
file.
I can ask
So
a
we have
question?
the two after the fact permits that have been sitting on here since October. With, I don't know why they keep getting kicked down the road. Just, I mean, even Lena said, just put the after the fact permits. Oh, really? It's so easy. Just put the things in and it's no problem. It's not what a problem.
The town planner asked for us to do it. We did
Yes.
exactly what he wanted. He said, because the previous people we bought it from, for some reason, two slipped through that weren't done. So we did the application, act what your
Okay,
commission
no,
asked us to
I
do.
appreciate the history, I do,
Yes, we
but
did what
it's
you-
not, again, germane to the reason we have the intervener hearing.
To rebut accusations of environmental damage, have you had any situations where you've had to, well, since you've owned the buildings, where you've seen your tenants leak materials? Use materials inappropriately that you've had to,
Piece of metal is sitting outside.
okay, but I'm just, to see whether or not there's been evidence as the owners of the building that you've been concerned about.
No, we have in the leases, no hazardous material, everything not allowed there, 100%. And we go through the buildings at least once a week, go through the parking lot and so forth, all of them. And the fire marshal went through every single unit we had in the last couple months. Every one, it is on file if the committee was to review it.
All right, then. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, and now we can discuss and make a decision. I think pursuant to the one point that was made, this has been kicking around for a while, and I think we are running out of time in which to make this decision.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
First, you need to make a decision on the 22A19 granted its status. You can find it acceptable, or you can decide it's not. Then you can make a decision on the application.
Or burden of proof?
So I guess so the order of business then would be to decide whether we feel that the 22A19 requirements have been met with a showing of substantial risk to the environment, and that it's been established with the testimony. Let's talk about that.
I feel there was no burden of proof presented. A lot of it was accusations and photographs of things that are unable to be proven hazardous.
I think what I require would be some evidence that there's something above a state or town established or federal threshold.
And there's been no evidence to support.
Soil samples, air samples, the like.
I mean, a long time ago was an engineer, not a chemical engineer, well, a chemical engineer, not an environmental one. And I am a scientist by trade. I was a physician, and I am an evidence-based guy. And while I'm sympathetic to concerns about the environment, I don't feel the evidence presented was substantive enough to convince me that the risk is valid enough to go forward on that complaint. So
We're just lacking documentation.
yeah, there's not
regarding
enough
the
there.
environmental
Right.
hazards that are
I mean,
proposed that are planned.
right. I need to see stronger evidence of an actual risk to the environment. And then I would be different perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, outdoor storage of steel is, you have a car parked in your driveway, you have outdoor storage of steel.
Yeah.
Open flame is my cooking at my house.
So how do we make the motion? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to deny the 22A19
Petition.
petition.
Yeah,
Okay,
petition.
thank you.
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Aye.
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 You'd be clear at some point in time, Chairman, too, that for one application.
We only heard it technically on the one, but I don't think the content changes for the other. But we'll take it one at a time. So that leaves us with the application 2025-009.
Mr. Chairman, I believe at the beginning of this conversation, you did say that they are one and the same property, and you would hear that SEPA intervention on both.
I believe you did say
Yeah, I
that.
did say that. You're right. Thank you for that. So then let's move on to let's just do the same vote for 0-010. You want to make the motion on that for me?
Then the motion would be to approve these applications essentially?
No, the motion to on the
The 2A19.
because I already voted for the first one.
Okay.
Right, it's not, we have to do one
We do.
for 9 and then one for 10.
Right.
I would like to make a motion that we deny the 22A19 petition for application 2025-009 Hopbrook Storage LLC.
010.
And also for, thank you, application 2025-010 for Hopbrook Storage LLC.
Okay. Second.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay? All right. So now we have that. Now, I suppose technically we should move each one separately to approve or disapprove the permit applications.
Okay. Go from there.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve application number 2025-009 for Hopbrook Storage LLC at 43 and 51 Russell Road.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay? All right.
And I would like to make a motion that we approve application 2025-010 Hopbrook Storage LLC, 43 and 51 Russell Road.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay? All right. There we go. So the two permits are approved.
Thank you.
So now we have the next thing on our agenda, which is the discussion of the moratorium on warehouses and storage units.
Larry.
And as I discussed at that one meeting where it sort of came up because I brought it up regarding the presentation of the 12 Sergeant Drive original plan from 2003. The moratorium that was passed in 2024 in July and then again renewed in 2025 was a blanket moratorium, the way it was worded. And I've since been informed by a couple of lawyers that you cannot read between the lines on a rule like that and say, well, it doesn't apply to this. If it says all warehouses and storage units, then you can't say except for this, because that wasn't what was voted. That's not what's in the public record. And we have to do what was passed by verbatim. So right now we have an absolute ban on warehouses and storage units, whether they're related to a business in Bethany or not. And so I want to strategize on how to, because it's coming up again in July. I want to strategize on how to word it or what our intent is so that we can get the wording right. I also want us all to realize that a moratorium in zoning is generally viewed as a bridge step to give you time to develop a regulation that will become more permanent. Now, if we choose not to go to a full regulation, that's certainly a possibility. So if we decide we only want the moratorium to be for another 2 months or another year maybe after that, and then let it expire, that's fine. But we can't keep renewing moratoria. Or we shouldn't keep renewing moratoria. And then the question is, what really is the goal of this moratorium? What you guys told me, the people who were on here before me, was that it was intended to be a moratorium on large-scale warehouses and particularly storage units for personal storage that are rented out. That storage units for vehicles also should be for businesses. All storage units in the town of Bethany, warehouses, were meant to be associated with a business doing business in Bethany and not rented out to other businesses from other places as a placeholder. That's how I understood what you were telling me. So what is your goal? And what is the ultimate strategy here? What do we want to do? Do we want to work towards a regulation, or do we want to just make this a very temporary thing?
Do we have a document that describes that moratorium?
I have the actual.
The reason why.
Reasons why, like whereases, and therefore there's a definition.
I went to the minutes, and that's where I found this. There's not much else there.
What I'd like to add to that is that it was more that it was in conjunction with our town planning for the center of town and our beautification, so that if you had a storage facility, they wouldn't just be, once you build the building, it's difficult to really alter it, so that you just don't have a whole bunch of storage buildings on a main corridor, and that's the first thing you see in Bethany, or the only thing you see in Bethany. So really, it maybe if we allowed it in certain locations, that would be a better fit for the moratorium. And that was sort of the kind of goal we were aiming for as well. Another thing I'd like to say is it was sort of our discussion, although it never really went into the verbiage, that if it was a brand new building on a virgin piece of property, that was our restriction. Not so much that if somebody wanted to add to their existing property for storage buildings. So one of the things I'd like to find out from this body, if we could discuss, is can we change it until July when it comes up to vote, so that we could alter the language at this point for a few months until we make a final decision then?
Well, I think that's what they're proposing, is that knowing that it's coming up, that we should refine the language, and we take this opportunity. Right. But it will take some time. We have to make sure the language is right and passes legal muster.
Right.
And so that may take us till July anyway, because we have May and June.
But so what happened over some period of time is we noticed that a lot of what I'll describe as corrugated metal buildings were going up in town. And they are frequently described as storage buildings. And maybe that's a convenience, but we've since learned, and you've even heard today, that there are many things that happen. And I think that's even a further discussion, right? In fact, I could just say, and this is just me, part of me would love to ban corrugated metal buildings in this town, because from an aesthetic point of view, I think they're awful. But I also see their value from a business point of view, that, I think it would be very hard on even new businesses if we grandfathered everybody. We said, hey, all new businesses have to be beautiful white clapboard, right? With some, New England look. I think it'd look wonderful, but I think that would be a burden on new businesses. So there's an aesthetic consideration that has to be balanced in my mind with businesses, right? That it's not too hard there. But the other thing we saw happening with these new buildings, which seem to always be of this type, is that they were eating up land that could go for other uses. And ideally, it might be retail. It might be food, right? And so to have storage, we felt, in fact, I think we did have a public hearing. We felt that Bethany had sufficient storage, additional storage, And of course, if the town said, no, we have more stuff and we need to store more stuff, we would have listened to them. But we didn't hear that. And even I would say, even though I didn't go so far in my thinking, do we want more metal buildings going up for light industrial, right? So it could be perfectly fine in a BNI zone, but again, I might go back to sort of the aesthetic, right? I don't want to touch the aesthetic right now because, like I said, it's a real fine balance. Everybody's got a different view of what they think is beautiful, and you have to be very mindful of being too hard on businesses, right? And that's a fine balance. So like I said, what we saw happening was a lot of these going up. We felt we had sufficient storage. We didn't get into regulating exactly what was happening in them, you know, business and art studio, kids activity classes, whatever it might be. And we were worried that they were taking over too much, again, virgin land that had nothing there. And we were going to lose another plot of land that could have been a retail or a restaurant or something.
Or even housing.
Sure.
So I will say one thing. Zoning based on aesthetics is the easiest to challenge and the hardest to defend. So you have to be careful going down that road.
Yep.
The second thing I guess I will say is I've heard a couple of things that make me think that this may be a much bigger issue and maybe we should just start with a better moratorium language and move on from there, because what you were saying and what you were saying about the concentration of these things along the main roads, and they are okay in the business and industrial zone. We have business and industrial zones. I was talking to Kurt about this the other day. Many towns have industrial zones and business zones, and they're not the same. And you don't want them necessarily all clustered as we have on your main highways, right? On your main roads.
Right. It could also due to the electricity requirements, whether it's three-phase or, you know, heavy industrial versus light industrial, and corrugated buildings might be the perfect thing for that.
Bethany's probably not going to get a whole lot of heavy industrial,
But
but
where you're going is I do think it would be very reasonable to reconsider a BNI split.
yes, BNI split, but that's again requires a separate hearing. I understand all this is going to require a hearing. I'm strategizing here. I'm not creating rules here. I just want to say, what is your goal and how do you think you can best achieve it? And then we're going to start having to have public hearings to discuss it. And you know, so you have a conceptual hearing and then you hammer out language and have a hearing on the language. But right now, I wanted to hit, what was the goal that you wanted to hit with this moratorium? And how can we target the moratorium better to do that, to buy us time to think about these other things as well?
If I said it succinctly, it was too many storage type buildings going on undeveloped land, going up on undeveloped land.
So did you see the memo I sent? Because this is the language in bold on the top that you guys adopted. And a couple of things I thought about talking about is, would a specific size maximum be something you might consider? This gets to your thing about new versus addition or added on to another property. Something like that might be useful. If there may be entertained putting a restriction that it can only be used by on-site business operating in Bethany and cannot rent space to other businesses or individuals, you could put a restriction like that in. Do you want to restrict hazardous materials being in the storage? Just things like that. Those were things I was throwing out just to consider. It does get to some of what you're saying.
Other towns have taken, I know Stratford had an issue with self-storage buildings. And they did an inventory of their storage buildings and compared it to industry standards and determined per capita that their market was already saturated. So they used that as the reason why they wanted to put a moratorium, but they also decided that they want to, I guess, have a discussion about what to do going forward in terms of the regulations.
Well, that's what we're going to eventually get to.
So that's an example of a targeted approach. I know, you know, I kind of took a look at, you know, Bethany GIS and went onto a map and looked at some of the storage buildings I know, and we have over over 50,000 square feet of self-storage, whether it be small units or storage for businesses, trucks. And if we went by the industry standards, it's about the saturation for that would be about 36,000. So we're already like 20,000 square feet over what storage, again, this is the self-storage industry, would recommend or felt would be appropriate from a business point of view. So there's some of that data that perhaps we could use to determine, are there, like we just approved those two huge warehouses off of Route 42. For legitimate,
those are garages, and there's
right.
Yeah,
Garages, yeah.
They are not. They're used by the business for their business, as opposed to providing other business opportunity to have a place to operate, but in our town, and that takes land away from other businesses, or housing or retail that the commission is really working on trying to do. So, and then like to your, the aesthetics is not the way to go, and that's the cheapest way to. Corrugated buildings are cheaper than building the brick and mortar ones. So, to get businesses in town, we have to provide economic incentives to be able to do that.
There's legitimate reasons for having a storage building. I mean, some people have antique cars or nostalgia things, or maybe they need a temporary place so that when they're moving to Bethany, they have a place to store their things. I mean,
but I think to his point, we have sufficient for our population.
I probably also.
Yeah, we have. I mean, based upon, again, this is just looking at Bethany GIS and the square footage of the buildings and making a list of what we have, which I think are storage. I know are storage buildings. So, but I'm just using that as an example of an approach to be more focused on our moratorium.
I have a question, Hiram. So if you have a town that, say, has a main street, which I think you could argue 63 is pretty much a main street for us, right? And you say, hey, we understand the importance of the main street for a variety of reasons, the aesthetic, and businesses, like let's just say businesses, right? Can really more the P of the Planning and Zoning Commission establish areas? I guess, is it easier for us? And I understand the argument that you don't want to keep hunting a moratorium in perpetuity. So does it make more sense for us to establish areas where we just will not accept a certain size, type building, et cetera, and say, we'll obviously grandfather anything that's in, but it was really preservation. We didn't want to lose all of our main street space to this one type of business and building, right? And I think Milford has at least a moratorium, if not, like, I don't know, some type of ban where they said they're smoke shops, right? I think they reached the tolerance level on smoke shops and said no more, right? So in that vein, there's certainly areas where we want businesses to come in, or say light industrial, right? Wouldn't want to keep them out. But is it better for us to establish areas where we don't need the moratorium and we just define them and say, this is what can go in this area?
Yeah, I think that if I can sort of back up one step in your question and say it's really a multi-step issue problem. Number one is, what I would suggest is that I bring to you at your next meeting a regulation that I think defines where this original regulation was to go with some more specificity in terms of what it was intended to do. We can discuss that at the next meeting, set a public hearing for June if you want to, in advance of the July 1 deadline for the existing moratorium. Second step, and this is sort of establish or rezone some of the B&I sections that are in town along Amity Road. You can, in fact, establish what's called a village district zone. And you have a lot of control in that zone over architecture. You have a lot of other things that you can put in there as well. how far you want things from the road, how they're visible from the road, are they, whether the roof is flat or the roof is peaked, you can put a bunch of things in there now. So that would be sort of second step, is to establish or think about establishing village district where you want certain things there, but you don't want other things. And then the third thing, of course, is we sort of kick around at every single meeting, is we need to decide whether we're going to plan to go forward with a plan of conservation and development or not. And that's where the real plan, where the rubber meets the road in terms of what this should all look like in the future. But to be honest with you, I think the easiest thing to do, bring in a regulation draft next meeting, talk about it, because that gets us where we need to go for a while. And fully understanding, as Chairman said, this is really a temporary thing that we need to just put in place for now. And then secondly, we can fiddle with the other regulations in the B and I zone. Trying to separate that B from the I think that's a very valid concern here.
And that regulation would replace the current moratorium.
Well, that regulation was set to actually replace a lot of the B and I zones that we currently have. We'd have to figure out exactly how we want to word that. What do you want to allow in the business zone? What do you want to allow in the industrial zone? To decide where the appropriate locations for those things are.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. The first regulation that you were going to bring in, that would replace our current moratorium?
The current moratorium, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it would clear up a lot of these questions that are coming up to try to sort of get that, so people know.
But breaking up B and I would be a secondary step, right? Because we would have to
That would be a
establish.
tertiary step, what he said, because you
Yeah.
would try to first set up a village center concept so that you could control that area that you were talking about.
And we had looked at proposed areas, because there's obviously, the area around the airport, right? But then you have a southern one, where you have like Teddy Bees and some things down there. So nothing I think has been designated yet except opportunity zones, if you will.
Right.
We have zones of opportunity within B and I. And maybe working with economic development and maybe even some other professionals to say, listen, I've looked at 63, maybe that's something the town wants to bring in and say, I can compare you with this town, and, it might be nice to hear, because if we have a couple areas to develop, is there a best choice, right, to start? And that's where you could, to your point, impose some type of aesthetic and say, like, I want all, pitched roofs. I want, 9/9 windows, whatever it is, but it would be this starting zone.
Yeah, we don't want it to be so strict that you end up trying to have everything look like the Washington Green, for example. You're going to scare everybody away. Nothing's going to happen.
Oh yeah, no, I'm thinking of Litchfield right there, right? The center of Litchfield with the white and everything matching.
But they having the commission, somebody have a work session, frankly, and have the commission sort of mark on the zoning map, where do we want these various things? Allow that with a new map, at least go along the B&I zone. What that
We do have.
If I may, to
right?
piggyback
Yes, we do have that.
on what, if I may, Mr. Chairman, if I
Yes,
may.
go ahead, please.
Yeah, to piggyback on what some of the things Hiram said, I'm new to this town. During the period of time that I was interviewing for this job, I got into the regulations and I did some investigating and obviously took a ride. I was very surprised to see that you had a combination business and industry. It's like, whoa, very few towns, and I've been involved in several towns, don't have a separate business and industrial zone. So, but I could see how that evolved here in Bethany. I've lived in this area all my life, so I've been through here. The what Hiram mentioned, and you did as well, Nancy, up in the area of the airport. Yeah, that could be the airport village district, as he said, a village district. And down near Teddy B's, that's another. It seems like another concentrated area of business, and there's some industry, interspersed in. Is that a word?
More of an entertainment location, I would say, because you had sports, right?
The roadside.
Sports and food.
somebody wanted to put a little a mobile coffee shop one theme.
Yeah,
one
you've
night.
got
And then
more.
Hiram also mentioned
hospitality,
your
I would say.
plan of conservation and development. That's exactly what it is.
That's what I'm.
The planning prong of the P and Z. That is the job of the planning commission.
So we need a P meeting.
We need a P.
Yes,
We need
that's what I was
P.
trying to talk about.
And
when I
15 years
first started.
since the last
Like, we
plan.
need a P meeting.
It's been
We need a P
15
meeting.
years. The state mandates that you at least review it every 10 years. This town is 5 years overdue. And now they're starting to hold back funds or threaten to hold back funds. So under your plan of conservation, which you would get your conservation commission involved and your inland wetlands, whatever, you get other people involved. But you conserve area and conservation and development. Now you decide where you want development and what types of development. So again, that's a arduous process that could cost the town $100,000 in today's going rate. Correct?
And don't say that to Carol, please. No,
I already told her that's why she didn't come tonight. She had to rest.
I do think that is where we need to go. I think we need to think about initiating that POCD review. I think the hottest item is fixing the moratorium. I agree with your multi-step process, actually. The POCD, I would think that we should create a separate sub-work group or a separate work group to do that. I don't know that we can have the time unless we want to have a lot of additional meetings.
You could meet as a planning commission specifically on purpose to discuss that.
Right.
Doesn't that be public hearing, whatever, nobody probably show up. But have that discussion if you want as a group.
I was thinking of a subgroup made up of economic development, conservation, housing, us, and maybe wetlands, to hammer out the general plan and then bring it to us and then have that P meeting.
You need to focus. So that if you're gonna have a meeting about the POCD and you're gonna have a housing meeting, then focus on that. Next meeting, do something else, PDC.
Oh, I see.
And so on. Because if you don't keep it focused, you're gonna have comments all over the place. Meeting in the auditorium. That's my opinion, just based on that. We try to get the meeting focused on something.
It's not a public hearing.
Get something.
Yeah.
Something.
I personally don't like moratoriums like they had for smoke shops or West Haven had for nail salons or something like that. I mean, businesses will extinguish businesses. If you're better at whatever you're doing, it's good. People are going to go to you and the other guy's going to go out, you know?
Yeah, but you don't want a big hulking empty warehouse.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
That I do agree with, or at least not on like a main corridor.
Like not on 63, right?
Right.
And that's the other thing we need to think about. When they place these zones, I'm sure it was convenient. They wanted to have businesses located in those areas, maybe spice up the area a bit. But they're really on our main thoroughfares and the way we show our town. And, you know, for some of that, you know, if you had a strip mall or something there, which is I'm sure what they were thinking of when they did it, because that was the going thing at the time, then that might be one thing. But to have a large industrial thing right on your main road doesn't necessarily present you. There's no reason why that can't be done elsewhere in town and leave that spot for something that draws more people through.
I think that you're absolutely right, Steve. I think that historically, and I'm not from this town, other than working here for a while, historically the farms were really what people did. And I think the way they saw the rest of the town as kind of, well, there's where the business and industry goes. This is before people got very sophisticated about separating these uses out. So the B&I zone is kind of the spine that runs through it, but the rest was farming, whether it was horses or cattle or whatever. And I think that's the thinking about it has never really gotten very sophisticated until the types of things that we're talking about now. I think now's a good time to take those things under account and see where we go.
So in terms of going forward, then it sounds like you can propose language to fix the moratorium.
Mm-hmm.
It will remain a moratorium, or it will become.
We'll have a new hearing in July and replace existing language with new language.
Okay.
Just like a regulation.
Right, and make it as a moratorium again,
but more discretion.
understanding that we have an endpoint
Mhm.
that we're looking to achieve.
Okay, so we'll improve the moratorium, and that will happen short term. And then we'll work towards the longer term of taking care of the issue, I'd say, without use of the moratorium, which if we needed to have the P-type meetings, right, and to your recommendation to focus, at least on this one, perhaps it's the establishment of the village zones, right?
Could be the village zone. The other thing you might want to do too is there are business districts. You might just say, well, this is B1 here. Maybe down south end is B2.
Okay, so B1, B2, and I1, I2, whatever could be established.
Village districts tend to focus on aesthetics. They tend to focus on architecture. It does give you a lot of authority.
The
but
village district, you mean?
Village
Yeah.
districts, yeah. And so that's another matter, another way to do it.
But at a minimum, so village can be a little more binding, it sounds like, which we may or may not want to do, but at least if we wanted to split B and I apart, we could establish B1, B2.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Just trying to take little bites.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's what I think is.
Have to go to public hearing, so you
Mhm.
have to be prepared to explain to
Mhm.
folks that are skeptical.
Right,
Um,
but we have to have something to explain first, so, you know.
And also seek input too.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
we
have to
seek
have it,
input from
yeah.
economic development and.
Well,
other
everybody
folks.
wanted to have restaurants and, or perhaps bar or something, but the thing is, you could say that you want a restaurant here, but unless somebody comes and builds it there, you're not gonna have it.
Right, and you have to have traffic for a restaurant.
Right.
Right, I mean. I'm not-
Similar.
And you also do not have public water or public sewer in
Yes.
Bethany, so you're restricted there.
Uh-huh.
That's a big disadvantage.
Although people still have restaurants, I mean, you've got several in town, so.
Yeah.
We've had 4 at
works.
least, right? I mean, we,
And Billy's didn't go out because they didn't have water.
yeah, that's including that
Right.
4, right? So from north to south,
One,
Country
two,
Corner,
Before
Billy.
3, 4, yeah.
If you have
you
any
have
comments at all,
Pizza place too.
Stevens,
That's right.
Pizza
Five.
Place, and Teddy
Yeah.
B.
Yeah.
That's 5.
Yeah.
which, like you said, we can sustain 5 at least.
Right,
so if you have any comments at all about the moratorium, things that you've either written or your thoughts or whatever, you could send them to both Curtis and myself.
Okay.
I'll do that. I've taken notes on what we have here on 2 different things, but I've taken notes and I'll digest that and send it.
Hiram's a pro. He'll have this written by noon tomorrow, probably.
Yeah, right.
Well, there's a big push to get water to come down. They were saying that they were gonna bring it to the barracks.
I don't think that was there's been a lot of
That would
discussion,
be-
but no, I
what would
don't
be
think,
the-
I don't think that's a,
What would be the source?
I think they're coming from the north,
Naugatuck?
From Naugatuck, yeah.
yeah.
Connecticut water. I mean,
That's a
that's
long
been
pipe.
close.
That building.
That's up the
Like,
hill.
just-
Yeah.
Just right here, you know.
Yeah, I know, I'm just
That's
saying that,
long.
that's what I've
Right.
heard. I don't know how
That would be a very expensive project.
feasible it is, but that's what
Yeah.
I've heard.
I mean, that's pure.
No, I also heard they were thinking of picking off pieces at the edge of town, putting, for more dense development proposals. Because you could pull from Seymour, from Seymour in the southeast,
Naugatuck.
or southwest rather, Naugatuck in the northwest,
Mhm.
a little bit from Beacon Falls in parts, and then,
There's too much rock anyway. I mean, that's why most places don't have gas.
it'd be hard to draw from, you could draw from Prospect, I suppose, but Prospect doesn't
They don't.
have
They
sewer.
don't have water.
Yeah,
They bring it
I
in
mean,
from
they do in
Naugatuck
certain areas, yeah.
and Waterbury.
Yeah,
Just on the
but not in our end of
like
town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't have their own water.
And Cheshire, that'd be a long drive, a pipe to get in here. So, and even Hamden, it'd be hard to bring it in.
I don't know, how much does it cost per mile to put in water? Do you know?
I can answer. Okay. So the thought of bringing water to town, it traditionally has been about $1 million a mile. If you want to put that in context, we paid $1 million for our last fire truck. It's capital expenditure is not a lot. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has programs for towns of under 10,000. There's low for grant funding to bring water into rural communities that have less than 10,000.
Okay,
So there are federal and state level stuff.
not a public hearing. Thank you for that, Pat. Useful to know.
I asked. So
Well, I know, but it was actually useful to know, but not a public hearing. And if I'm gonna let you speak, then people who didn't come because it wasn't a public hearing have a valid complaint, so let's not do that. But I think this is a good start. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
No, Mr. Chairman, please, I have one question to
Oh, all right.
discuss.
Well, this is it on our agenda? Because this is a special meeting. You can't add to my agenda. No, I'm serious.
Where's page 2? Don't you have zoning? Nope.
I have a quick thing for number 10.
Sorry, but you can't.
No, I know it's a special.
It would be.
I didn't see on it. I did not see.
What did you want, Hiram?
Number 10. Your next meeting is May 6th. I just wanted to give
Right.
you a heads up that one of the items that people have is the informal discussion with regard to property on Fair Hill Road. Talked to the developer and he would like to come in and explain to you what he has in mind. Just as an informal discussion, not as an application.
On what road, please?
Fair.
115 area, which was a farm. Early's farm?
I know exactly where it is.
So
Okay.
I just wanted to do that ahead of time, not a public hearing, but it's certainly something that.
Well, if we're going to hear him, it has to be public. It just doesn't have to be a public hearing. Yeah.
I just want to let you know that he will bring his engineer, but no attorney.
We could put it down as informal discussion.
Yeah, informal.
All right. You taking notes here, Stephanie? Yeah. And I have some documents for you, Stephanie. Catalog here, just stuff that was happening. So yes, and I have to say this publicly for anyone who's still on us with Zoom. Thank you, by the way. Our next meeting is May 6th at 7 p.m. And that will be a regular meeting. So you could have added that in. But we'll talk and we'll make sure it gets on the next meeting.
Item
All right.
11.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay.
Go home. Thank you all.